Hey everyone, it's Simon.
And this is Martina.
And we're broadcasting out of Kichijoji, Tokyo, Japan, the best part of the world.
Well, okay.
I know you agree, don't you?
We like to exaggerate, but it's nice to be back here.
It is really nice to be back.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be back to doing a podcast after, well, I haven't done one in a week or so.
It's been a year at least.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our time in Amsterdam.
We're starting with Amsterdam, and then next week, I believe, we'll be doing Barcelona, unless something presses us in Japan, and we're like, we gotta tell you.
Because we have lots of fun stories that happened that we just couldn't get on camera, and Amsterdam had some tremendous memories for us.
Oh, tremendous. Simon's 2019 goal is to stop saying the word tremendous because it sounds like Donald Trump and we don't like it.
So my word instead of tremendous is f***able.
Which I told him is not a very good
So I can't really use that on video, but I had a f***able time in Amsterdam. So f***able.
I told you it's not the right word. So if you can think of a better word than tremendous, please let us know in the comment section below. Okay. We flew. Our goal was to fly to Barcelona, by the way.
Yes.
But along the way, there's no direct flight from Japan. So you either go to England or you go to Amsterdam. And we really like Amsterdam.
You could also go, I think, to Russia. So we decided to go to Amsterdam. Yeah.
We got yelled at the last time we went to the Russian airport.
I know.
hurry up.
When they slapped at the table.
I'm like,
and they waved us forward so impatiently.
Yeah, you, me, and Dan, we were all like,
Amsterdam was very delicate. Very, very delicate. When we were going in through customs, there was this weird line, and I went into the wrong line because like one person was walking backwards.
They decided to go back for some reason.
And then the guy's like, why are you not in the right line? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, oh, it's okay, go ahead. I showed him the passport. He's like, all right. And he didn't ask me any questions. He's like, are you planning on murdering someone here? It was like very, very chill.
Yeah. So the first story, we're going to kind of go backwards in time here. So the first story is about a hot chocolate line. I had the best hot chocolate, I think, of my life.
I think so too.
In Amsterdam. So I was staying in the hotel, and unfortunately, I really busted up my like arch and calf area because of EDS.
Right.
And I was having a really hard time walking around.
You have a prolapsed arch.
Yes, I have a prolapsed arch.
So your foot keeps on collapsing internally.
Yes. So my feet can't stand straight. The right one is kind of collapsing in, and then that causes my ankle and then my kneecap and my hip. And because of EDS, everything tugs out easily. So it was a really hard time to walk. And so I decided to stay in. Obviously, I wanted to go out and explore, but I like when Simon goes out and explores when I can't, because he'll take photos and he'll gather stories for me. And it's like, what did you see of the world? Wise duck.
This is our strategy now whenever we travel. We did the same thing when we went to Italy.
Yeah.
Like when we first get to a place, we usually travel in the winter. We'll go to a hotel first for the first few days so that you could stay in bed if you need to, so you can recover.
And I can call, if I need an emergency, I can call down and say like, I need food or I need ice or whatever.
While I can go out and explore and get the lay of the land, and I could come back and be like, oh, here's what we can do and where we can go.
And then once I've usually recovered between 3 and 5 days, we move to an Airbnb, because then I can be active and I can cook food, and we've gotten to know the neighborhood a bit, you know.
And I understand that it's a very big luxury to have to be able to add on an extra 3 to 5 days, but it's that or don't travel. It's that or don't travel.
I'm not going to travel.
Because like a 5-day vacation for you won't be able to do much.
No, not to mention that if we arrive somewhere and we have to climb up 4 flights of stairs and drag our luggage, it's going to put me out for a week. Right. So it's like there's no point. So we have to do these kind of strategies. So I was in this hotel feeling a little bit sorry for myself. And I called down to reception because I couldn't find my ice bag, which I always travel with a bag where you can unscrew the top and add ice.
Right.
Anybody, please, if you have an ice bag shop near you, please send me an ice bag.
We looked everywhere. We went to pharmacies. Like in Japan, they didn't have, because like right the day before the flight, I went all around
to all the Daisos and all the shops.
And like eventually the pharmacist says it's wintertime, you're not going to find one.
Yeah, and I bought mine in Japan before, so I'm like, this sucks, and I always travel with it. So I called down and I said, this is a very strange request, but could I get a bag of ice? And they were like, okay. And usually they just leave it at that. But then they're like, oh, well, what's it for? Like, you know, do you need a bucket, or should I put it in here? Is it for drinks? So then I was like, no, I injured my ankle, and so I just need to put some ice on it. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll try to find something for you. And the guy comes upstairs and he rings on the door. And when I open it up, they actually have, it was really cool of them, I think it's for packing in the kitchen, because it was like a sealed bag that was filled with ice, like almost like you'd put it underneath a pot to keep something like a custard cold.
Sure.
It was totally sealable, which most places give me like a sack of ice and it spills everywhere.
Yeah.
And then he goes to me and he's got this weird, almost like a magical British but not British accent. It's that like Dutch accent, and he's like, madam, and he looks younger than me, and I'm like, I'll punch you.
I'll punch you.
Anyways, he's
and
like, dick. You call me madam again. But anyways, he's like, Madam, it seems like you're having a bit of a hard time whilst on vacation. Could I perhaps tempt you into a cup of hot cocoa?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love this guy, whoever he is, in his little tiny suit, his little tiny bow tie. And he holds up to me like a movie moment, this plastic box. And inside of it, there is a gold brushed, dark brown bronze, like it's got bronzing powder. It's a lion, and it's a lion that looks like it belongs on the corner of a building, like a stone building.
Right.
And I'm like, what the heck is that? He's like, this here. He goes and he pulls it down. He's like, it's a special chocolate lion. And I was like, wait a second. That lion's chocolate, like I think it's but the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Like
it
was
like bigger than the size of my palm, and I could palm a basketball. For those listening rather than watching, I don't know. For those watching, it was this big.
It's like a softball.
There you go.
It's
Softball's
a softball.
a good size.
Yeah, it was a softball size lion. And I'm like, that's chocolate? And he goes, yes. And he's like, in honor of the building's restoration of the lions that were on the roof, because they had these like lion statues on the roof that were taken during the war. And he's like, they've been replaced, and it's in honor of, we've made these special chocolate lions. And I'm like, you guys do you. So he goes, I'll come right back up again with your hot cocoa. So he leaves, and I'm like icing my ankle, and then I get a phone call, and I pick it up, and he's like, would you like whipped cream with your hot cocoa? And I'm like,
go on then.
Absolutely, I do. He comes up later, rings the doorbell, and I open it up, and there's a little tray, and on it is a beautiful teacup filled with the lushest hot chocolate. Really, nay, I say, just melted chocolate. It's really just drinking chocolate.
Yeah.
They melted this chocolate solid lion down into a pot of like thick milk because it's Dutch milk. We're in Amsterdam.
They don't mess around with milk
with
there.
their dairy cows.
Yeah.
And they put a huge cup of like freshly whipped cream that was like, ooh. And I dolloped that inside, and he's like, the chef told me the secret is to add a little bit of cinnamon. And he had a little cinnamon in there. And then they handed me my very own chocolate lion.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is for you. And I was like, ugh. And he told me how to make it at home and everything.
With 4 cups of milk.
4 cups of milk. That's how much goes into this lion. And I sat there with the ice on my foot and I watched some like random TV and I drank my hot cocoa and I felt really happy. Even though I was stuck inside, I still knew that I was in Amsterdam, experiencing the culture through its milk, if you will, you know.
And even though you weren't able to go out and explore like I was, you were still having like a good memory of this really cool place. We stayed in the Amstel.
This isn't an ad. This is just where
we're not paying for this.
It'll be great if we pay for this, but we're not. Hey,
if you want to pay for
this.
We stay there, and we actually, because we always travel during the off season.
Yes.
Right. So like instead of summer, we went there in January, and one of the crappy things about off season is that a lot of things are closed. So
they have like construction during that time period.
So the swimming pool was closed, their famous restaurant was closed,
and
their gym was closed, and their spa was closed. So pretty much everything was closed, and barely anybody was there. It's a pretty empty hotel.
And it's like cold and rainy in Amsterdam, and there was like us and one other couple, I think.
But we booked a regular room, but because we like usually stay with like intercontinental hotels, again, this isn't an ad. They like, okay, we're sorry that this so much is closed down. Let's give you the penthouse suite.
Guys, they upgraded us
to the penthouse suite.
Never before have we been in a penthouse suite.
Ma'am.
And never again will we pay to be in one. That's for sure. So unless anyone keeps upgrading us.
Way out of my budget.
And what was amazing about it was if you go traveling off season means that everything's cheaper. So if you want to experience a hotel that might have been normally out of your price range, you do it during off season.
Yeah.
And this is something that like we strongly feel about. We're going to tell you guys about this hotel, but very quickly, the idea of traveling and being off season. We went to Thailand off season.
Yeah.
We went to Vietnam off season.
Italy off season.
Yeah. And the best thing about it, I think, is that sure, you get like 4 days of rain out of your 6 days. Like when we were in Thailand, it was like very, very rainy, right? But people still live in Thailand.
Yeah.
It's not like Thai people go, well, it's monsoon season, everyone out. Just because you go to a country and you don't have the perfect 6 days of sun that you wanted, doesn't mean you're not experiencing the country.
I'd rather have some rain than quadruple the tourists.
Yeah.
So like when we were walking around Amsterdam, it wasn't as busy as it usually would be. When we were walking around Barcelona, it was a little bit busy, but not super busy.
Nope.
Totally fine with me.
Yep.
The hotel that we stayed at was actually one of the coolest hotels that we've ever stayed at because we saw pictures around the hotel of all the famous people that went there. So there was a scene in like Ocean's 12 or Ocean's 13 in which they were in Amsterdam. Well, all the cast stayed there. So Brad Pitt and George Clooney. And
to see them all leaving the hotel waving. And this isn't a fancy hotel as in like a modern looking one.
No.
It's an old. Like it was really, really old.
I think they said it was like 120 years
120
old.
or 140
well over 100 years old.
It's all brick and mortar and it looks very
Columns,
like wallpaper, Victorian.
Yeah, very Victorian.
It's not like a...
And we saw the pictures like, oh, there was Bono here.
Yeah.
Oh, David Bowie.
David Bowie.
Oh, what's that? The Queen of England?
The Queen of England.
Supposedly they had a time in which it was some royal person's birthday or like Sweet 16 or something like that.
Birthday.
And every single room there was booked by royalty. And I think Nelson Mandela was there also.
And there's a picture of them all at the bottom of this ball gown staircase. And it's like it wraps up to... It felt like I was in Jane Austen, like Pride and Prejudice in Mr. Darcy's home.
We're in the penthouse suite of the super famous hotel, which means that some of these famous people were there, which means I farted in the same bed as Brad Pitt.
David Bowie's skin cells are somewhere on my body.
Bowie farticles on my body. I got it.
You're going to see more creativity this year because Bono and David Bowie and Queen of England, we've got all their stuff.
One of the things we really liked about this hotel was because it was off season and because it was so empty, when we'd go down for breakfast, we'd go down right as early as possible because
so jet lagged.
We're jet lagged. So breakfast opens up at like 7
a.m. I think it was 6 a.m.
Okay, 6.
Yeah. Sorry, it doesn't matter.
And we'd be awake at like 4.
Yeah.
And then by the time breakfast came around, we'd be starving and just like so ready to go down there, like
standing
banging
outside
on the door, tapping our watch, pointing to our mouths.
Yeah.
And we go in there and nobody else was there. So it felt like the breakfast was just made for us.
Yeah. And what was great about the place was it was like this glass dining room that had all Victorian overstuffed chairs with a chandelier.
Right.
And they were playing classical music and jazz. And there was a staff of 4 people all standing there like butlers. Like it was very Downton Abbey.
I felt very Downton Abbey.
And when I looked around, there was nobody else in the room. And
Right.
I remember us discussing how we realized how uncomfortable it would be to have servants.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how somebody can handle this. Like how do you handle somebody making your coffee and pouring in the cream for you and like being like, do you want this? I'm like, yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I'll be okay.
I'm
I'm
adult.
capable.
I know how to do this.
You know, like it was a very like a kind of itchy feeling.
But we did not feel itchy about getting the crepes. Because on the menu they had something called Dutch crepes, which pretty much
pancakes, which was confusing to us.
Yeah, so the Dutch pancakes were like very small, maybe like bigger than softball, but smaller than soccer ball.
A teacup saucer.
Teacup saucer, but a little bit bigger
a little
than
bit bigger
teacup.
than that. Oh gosh.
We need to get our measurements.
Plate, salad plate.
We need some. You know what we need? We need objective
we
kind
all
of measurements.
need to agree upon this.
We're gonna bring our rulers with us.
You know
next
what?
time
It's
we go.
really like the inside of a sundubuchige pot.
There you
like
go.
you know when you've seen sundubuchige jug.
Do you know sometimes when it's a full moon and then you look up, it's like, and you hold your finger up to like the moon, and you could, it's kind of like that size.
Oh right, and you kind of move your thumb left and right a bit.
And if you squint your eyes and shake, anyhow.
Yeah.
So the point is, we had some of the Dutch pancakes there, which were these crepes, and they were probably our favorite thing that we had there in Amsterdam. No. The pea soup was, but the crepes were really high up there.
Mini pancakes.
The Jofflin Flufflers.
We had lots of good food there.
So don't say it was one of the best.
Okay.
They were really good.
They were really, really good. And you would order one, and then we'd be like, And then we thought, this is our vacation. We just came from your father's funeral.
Sure,
It
rough.
was a really
rough
bad time. Why not have 2 pancakes? Who's going to stop us?
Yep.
It's not like they're going to charge us extra for it.
Yep.
So they didn't. So we're like, okay, let's have 2 pancakes. And when we finished that, we said, why don't we have 3 pancakes?
I'm sitting in this floating like magic little place, and I look outside at the grim gray day that's rolling in with splattering rain, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna stay here all day.
Yep. And we had so many pancakes or so many crepes that we were thinking, why don't we call this 8 days of crepe? Because we just, for those that follow us on Instagram, we had the 8 days of crepe.
Yeah.
In which, if you could explain it better than I can.
Oh yeah. Basically, you know, so my dad died, and that whole week that I was in Canada was really just the most intense week ever. I'm not going to go into details about it because it's just a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
But the point is that I decided that if I was to go on vacation, I didn't plan the vacation during my dad's funeral. We had planned this
well
like
in
8 months in advance because off season you save money.
And we can get cheaper prices if you book early.
Like everyone's like, how do you do it? We're like, we really
very cheap people.
Very cheap. We want to save money. So we booked this so far in advance. And my mom and I already discussed that I would obviously cancel the trip or come back from the trip if my dad hadn't passed away and we were unsure what was going on, right? Because it was a very shaky situation. So when he passed away before the trip, my mom's like, I want you to like go on this vacation and like really be happy because dad would be thrilled that you'd be on vacation. Like, and it was really hard for me to cope with that because I kept feeling guilty. Like I should be what I see on TV, which is somebody's dad dies and they become like inconsolable and they go lock themselves in the room. And like you hear about it all the time. Like you see a Hunger Games, like mom, you can't go into that shell that you did.
Right. We don't see people coping with grief in a healthy way. Yeah. Every time media portrays grief, it's always like gnashing and terrible and like people are destroyed and you feel that, but you don't want to be that. Like I wanted to show us doing well through grief and I wanted to give people the idea that you can keep moving on with your life afterwards.
Because like the reason why it's so hard to do that is because your inside doesn't quite match your outside. So on the inside, you feel this turmoil and this sadness. Like when we lost Spudgy, it feels like there's like this hole inside of you that you think nothing can fix this. So you just want to sit down and do nothing. But what you realize is that's not actually what somebody from the outside would want. No. My dad would be real disappointed in me if I went to Barcelona and canceled going to see the football game and didn't go to Amsterdam and didn't send pictures to my mom.
Your dad would slap you.
Yeah, he'd be. No, he would. No, he wouldn't slap you. How dare you?
He'd slap me.
He doesn't slap anyone. There's no slapping. Not even in karate, there's no slapping.
He'd just be like, why didn't you go and have fun? Why didn't you have a good time?
Right.
And I'd be like, because I miss you, Dad. But he'd be like, all right, well, miss me and enjoy something. So I tried to create this hashtag called 8 Days of Great with like an 8 number. And I wanted to see if I could pull any goodness out of my life around me within those 8 days. If I could really try my hardest to say, you're not going to fall into this grief, Martina. You're not going to fall back into it and let it wash over you. You know, Spudgy and Dad so soon together. What you're going to do is you're going to really strain your hardest. It's like build a ladder times 20. And I'm going to look around and I'm going to say, what am I grateful for? What is great around me? Like you can't lie to yourself, Martina. Things are great. Things are happening that are great even while you're grieving. And that can be angry. I don't want these good things to happen. It's not fair. I'm in pain. But no, I don't want to be that way. So I tried my hardest to look around and post up something that would show me being able to push through it. And it really helped me.
Yeah. And those crepes definitely were a very big help. I had my own special moment when you were having your hot cocoa by yourself. I was walking around the 9 streets. I don't know how to pronounce it in Dutch, but the 9
strudels.
I was walking around there
Give
because
some descriptions of like how beautiful this is to people.
I was looking for these shoes that like when we went to Amsterdam a few years ago, I found a shoe shop in which they have like these really funky red shoes. Some of you might have seen in the video and
they're like
some
those
of
red
our videos.
plaid shoes.
And it came with a matching belt. I thought I need to have more of these shoes, and it was around the 9 streets.
It's a cobbler.
Yeah. So I walked around these, like, it's a really funky area. They got a whole lot of canals. You can see a lot of the boats. They have these really like tall, slender buildings with like funky shops everywhere.
They look like handmade gingerbread houses that could tumble over at any moment. Like they never look super erect. They always look kind of slanted and stuff.
It's further away from the commercial area, so it's not all like Nike and Gucci and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of like individual, like smaller franchises. Some might have branched out to other locations, but they're not like big, super mainstream corporate places. And I was walking around there for a long time trying to find it. Never could because I think it might be gone by now. But I found something a lot better. I was walking down a pretty narrow street, and this group of like 5 men, maybe in their late 20s, early 30s, giggling a lot with each other. I assume they might have visited a coffee shop and they had some reasons to be giggling with each other afterwards. And they were all laughing and having a time, and I was just about to walk past them, and one of them lifted up his knee to his chest, kind of like how if you've ever jumped off a diving board and you try to do the jackknife cannonball in which you have like one leg going and one knee up and it makes a bigger splash. He almost like did like a jackknife in the air standing, and as he had his knee up in the air, he let out an echoing fart. Just such a loud, long, like not like a 10-second one, because like as soon as you pass the 5-second mark, it starts losing its volume.
See.
You know, the long farts are like No, it was just a brrrr, like really, really
impressive,
scary loud.
Yeah, and they obviously hadn't seen you, or this man wouldn't have shown off this skill.
And they all start like giggling and laughing with each other more until they look over at me. And that's when the laughter really starts, because I had my hands to my chest and I looked at them appalled, like a British woman that was about to say, why I never.
Mary Berry, like you offended me in every possible way.
And I start like pretending to gag, and I'm holding my throat and I'm plugging my nose. I don't know these guys at all, but they lost their minds laughing, like bent over, like holding their knees. One of them was like on the ground, not rolling, just like he squatted to the ground and he was holding on.
Yeah, like that painful laughter that takes over your body when you're in class and you're like, I have to excuse myself.
And they all had such a great, solid, hearty laugh. And this is my favorite memory of Amsterdam, farting in the fashion area.
What did you like about Amsterdam? Wow.
But the reason why I like it is because this is something that I try to do sometimes if I have the opportunity. I know that just by doing a few gestures and just by like playing around with these strangers this way, I think I gave them a really good memory.
Yeah, for sure you did.
I think that like they're going to be like, hey, remember that time we went to Amsterdam and you grossed out that guy with a huge fart? Like if they just, the fart story on its own for them would be lame. Yeah. But a stranger seeing it and being appalled, that really made their memory. And I hope that one of you dirty barbarian animals, that one of you guys must be listening to this podcast.
You're eating too many carbs.
Too many carbs. You got to cut down. But I thought
my name is Simon Stosky. I have seen you fart.
So
prepare to die.
I hope that I gave those guys a great memory. It gave me a great memory.
Well, that's something that you do a lot that I really enjoy. So without being offensive, Simon loves kind of letting people remind people that there's like other people around and that it's something to smile about. Like if somebody's taking a group photo, he doesn't run into the photo. He doesn't do that.
No.
But if he's in the background, like you're at a restaurant, Simon will often turn around and make like 2 thumbs up.
Or I'll put my finger up my nose.
Or he'll make like a smiley face and we'll see them all look at the photo afterwards and sometimes they don't notice.
Yeah.
And other times one person starts laughing and everyone's like, what? And you see them point to the screen and then they zoom in and then they all start cracking up because Simon is part of the room just like everybody else, but he's giving them kind of like an Easter egg.
And like I think that like by doing that, that gives people a good laugh, a good smile. It adds value to their day and to their life, and it costs me almost nothing. Yeah. It doesn't cost me any money.
You have to smell that fart, so I'm sorry about that.
Like it's just a couple extra movements on my half and I can enrich somebody's life. Not to the point that like I change their lives and their careers.
No,
but
just give them a giggle.
Like why can I give people a good memory, a good laugh through a few easy gestures? I don't think that there's any harm in that, and I like to try to be aware of that sometimes.
The point of the podcast is to photobomb people.
Photobomb people when you can.
Photobomb people.
Call out people when they fart. Let them know.
Let them know that it was impressive.
If
it's an impressive fart, let them know it.
I know some people listening to this to be like, oh my God, I'd be mortified. But like, hey, if you farted that loud, then you knew that every consequence that came your way was justified. It wasn't a silent one.
Or like an accidental one, like the time we were biking and you tried to let out a small fart and it was so loud that I physically pulled my bike off, hid behind a pole and flattened against a fence in hopes that the person in front of us...
I stopped right under the
lights.
The light above, and it just like shone on me.
Simon was like, I need to let out a little fart, but it was one of those ones that was like...
Well, it's because I was biking and like my cheek was moving at the same time.
It was like the person that was walking in front of us, who was right beside us, actually turned around. That's why I was like... and I disappeared like a bat into the black night.
But then I just pointed at her.
But it looked like he was pointing at the shadows. You couldn't see me.
So farts are always funny, no matter how old you get.
Oh my God.
Farts are always great.
And crotch humor make me laugh. When someone gets hit in the crotch with something, or a panda bear falls off a tree and hits his crotch, I'm like, this is funny.
Amsterdam was great. We had a really lovely time.
Good stories.
Thank you.
I enjoyed them.
Everybody for listening. And for our next podcast, we're going to tell you some of our Barcelona stories, because we don't have time for them today, but we have lots of stories we want to share there as well. And we're
digging into our Barcelona videos. So if you guys have been wondering where we are, we do have a video coming up on Fugu, which was from the Yamaguchi trip that we went on before I went to Canada, before Christmas. And then the other one is Barcelona, which I think will come out first.
I think you could finish a Barcelona video pretty soon.
Yeah, Barcelona.
And go check that out if you haven't yet, if you're watching this like 2 weeks later.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, let's go start editing.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.